Commercial insurance for sprinter/cargo van owners. Is it really worth it? We're going to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. This segment of the Gig Geezer was born out of a question from a viewer, and he's been a frequent commenter, and his name and his handle on YouTube is Vincent Parada 4007. And I thank you for the question that I'm about to read out. And before I read out the question, now, when I saw 4007, the first thing that came to mind when I saw 4007 was the passing yards that Joe Namath, who is known for his exploits with the New York Jets primarily, and then he's played part of a season with the Los Angeles Rams before retiring. He threw for 4,007 yards in the 1967 AFL season. And that passing total was eclipsed by Dan Fouts in the 1979 season, in which they played 16 games, and Fouts threw for 4,086 yards. Now, the question that Victor Parada asked was, Geezer, I hope you answer me on this one. I've got to ask you a question, though. What percentage of the 90,000, that's the dollar amount that I said that I've earned thus far this year, it's rounded up to 90,000, is from like over-the-road shipments that require your commercial insurance? And what percentage is from the gig apps like Roadie, Bungie, or Dispatch? With the low payouts from those apps, it seems like making more than 25 a year would be a real stretch. This is from someone who's been doing it. Thank you. And Victor, thanks for the question. Now, I've got to answer this from a couple of angles. And hopefully, by the time I get finished with this, I have answered the question for you, Victor. First question is, why then is commercial insurance needed? Well, the number one reason is liability purposes. And I've uploaded many segments here on the Gig Geezer channel since 2023 on the subject of insurance. Now, while a sprinter/cargo van may not meet the US DOT's definition of a commercial vehicle, which means that most models of sprinter/cargo vans do not have a gross vehicle weight rating of 10,001 pounds or more. How a van is used, though, is likely to meet an insurance company's definition of a commercial vehicle. I've also seen where there are content creators who have disclosed that they do not have commercial insurance on their van. And I don't recall any of these same content creators even mentioning that they have a rideshare rider which offers coverage while performing work on a gig app. So they are at risk of having claims denied. And insurance companies are always looking for ways of not paying on a claim. Now, I've also mentioned that many gig apps do not require commercial insurance. They only require the state minimum liability. There are last mile gig delivery apps that do require commercial insurance, and they also require certain coverage levels. The two apps that come to mind are Curry and Freight. So then, to answer the actual question of how much I've earned so far this year is linked to being required to having commercial insurance, I also got to kind of give you another breakdown of some things with commercial insurance. Now, for purposes of like doing brokered load opportunities, and a carrier, myself, who has what's called an MC number or a motor carrier number, I must carry these particular components of insurance: auto liability, and the combined single limit amount is $1 million. Combined single limit means that they count instead of a split coverage of like for collision and comprehensive, it's all under one number. So with personal auto insurance policies, you have an amount for collision and then you have an amount for comprehensive. Collision is when you collide into something. Comprehensive is when things happen to your vehicle, like it being stolen or a tree falls on it, or in some states you have coverage for if a rock damages your windshield, things like that. So $1 million is often required when you have an MC number, and some apps will require for you to have $1 million combined single limit coverage. Then there's general liability. That is the coverage that protects the business entity, your LLC. And that's another name for commercial general liability, is like a business owner policy. And so those policies have limits, meaning how the most that it will pay for a policy year or for an occurrence or actual claim. You must have a minimum of $1 million per occurrence per incident, and at a minimum $2 million aggregate, which is the most the policy will pay in a policy year. And then there's $100,000 cargo coverage. At least this is what I have for my policy, for my coverage. And most brokers require you to have 100,000 cargo coverage. There are some that will let you get by with 300,000 combined single limit liability, commercial general liability. They may not require it, and then some may only require you to have 50,000 cargo coverage. But for the people that I deal with, it's 1 million, 1 million, 1 million slash 2 million, and then 100,000. So then this is where I think Vincent wants to know the breakdown of numbers. And this is based on my revenue stream so far this year as of November 1, 2024. Now, as of that date, I have earned 89,000, rounded up $600. And you can make another roundup of right at about 90,000. And of that breakdown, I'm going to combine freight and curry. I have earned altogether $23,970, or about 26.7% of what I've earned so far this year. Brokered load opportunities have accounted for $23,308, or about 26%. So the subtotal of those two means that places that I must have, absolutely required, mandatory, it counts to about 52% of my income, or about $47,278. Now, the remaining amount of last mile gig delivery apps comes out to about $15,643, or 17.5%. So, altogether, non-food gig delivery monies earned, we're talking rough 70% of the money that I've earned. So, altogether, because of non-gig food delivery work, 70% is what I've earned. But here's the thing. I've always said it's a matter of liability, in that if I'm operating the sprinter/cargo van, I've said that there's a level of comfort that I have, knowing that I'm going to be covered 99% of the time. So while mandatorily speaking, we're saying 52%, 52.7%, 70% of what I've earned could be attributed then to that number. I hope I'm answering that question. So, truth be said, my initial guess was that about 75% of what I earned would be the actual number. So when I did the actual breakdown, it came out to 70%. So that's a little bit less, but part of the reason why it may be less too is that the market has been on a severe downturn since mid-July 2024. Now, the remaining amount, we're talking about $26,683, comes out to 29.7%. So the question again is, why then is commercial insurance necessary? For me, ultimately, it's about compliance, and then it's also about peace of mind. Now, I get the concern and the complaints some people may have. Commercial insurance is so damn expensive in relation to personal insurance. And being a licensed insurance agent, and in particular in the property and casualty realm for over 10 years now, I get the argument. And I agree that in many ways, it seems as if it is a cash grab, because there are carriers that offer commercial insurance, but they don't offer the levels that you need. And there's a very narrow market for options that you have with finding commercial insurance. So then the question is, do I enjoy putting out $1,520 a month, which I have done since December 2022 for commercial insurance? No. But admittedly, maintaining commercial insurance is also a cornerstone of my maintaining my personal enterprise, my business operations. And so it has been a leading reason for me having many sleepless nights. Now, last year, for whatever it's worth, I earned over 25,000 directly related to brokered opportunities. And that was from the end of March until the end of year. So someone may ask, well, you've only earned 23,000 this year. Um, so why you have not earned as much money? Well, part of it is that I've not done as many runs as I did last year, 2023. And a couple of other reasons is that you learn as you go, you learn, you learn more, and you learn not to take the same runs as you did before because you realize the same run that you accepted in 2023 for $300, you realize you can get full $500 for the same run. Then there's market conditions. There have been fewer opportunities out there. And then there's been practicality. In certain situations, I have made more money not having to drive as many miles doing other stuff. But I'm going to end this segment of the Gig Geezer with this. So then the question is commercial insurance worth it? Well, I guess it's going to be a personal answer more than anything else. For me, it's been worth it because since 2022, December 2022, so we're coming up on 2 years, I have earned over 200,000 in the primary ownership and operation of a Sprinter/cargo van. So that would tell me that the return on investment has been worth my while. Now, for another person, it may not be, but I've also tried to afford myself options and opportunities, or at least put myself in a position for options and opportunities that may result in my earning money. So hopefully I've answered the question, and hopefully you got something out of it. And if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Edward Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.